Okay, here we go. Another edition of the Rough Draft Podcast. We are back for episode number 3 in our second season of the show. In this show, we are going to talk a little about free agency review and our top 5 running backs in the class, and then probably just talk about just whatever we want to. Some pro day stuff happened over the past couple days, which is great, and some buzz. Some trades have happened in the league, which could shake up the draft, so that's always great. Ken, Andy, how are you guys?
Great, fantastic. Happy to be here with a mic that works, doesn't echo, and hopefully we can have some football convo. It was a great time, no technical difficulties.
Yeah, absolutely. Let's hope so. Ken, your team made a trade the past week. They moved up from 6 to 3. How do you feel about it?
I'm just happy about it because I know finally I can have a little comfort in knowing that
Saquon Barkley's your guy.
Then let's not even start. You got Rosen, Allen, Darnold, whoever the hell is left at that spot.
Mayfield.
Lamar Jackson.
Listen, can you please not make me cry before the draft? At least on draft day, I'll hate everything they do. But for now, let me just not have to worry about it.
I oftentimes, when I want to actually change up my humor and stop laughing at myself when Eli Apple got drafted by the Giants, and I watched that video.
Don't say one word about Hackenberg.
I actually tend to watch the one where Jamal Adams got picked by the Jets, and the pick was leaked, and Kenny just starts flipping out at ESPN. So this you'll be watching it on Fox at my house because that happened also this weekend. Just kidding. We'll have it on NFL Network and ESPN. But yeah, so the Jets pulled off a good trade. I think it was definitely a smart move. Buddy of mine actually wrote an article about it, and I think he made some good points. I think it was one of those things that the Jets just really needed to do. They needed to stop missing out on guys, taking a guy in the second round, who had question marks. A guy like Hackenberg, like you talked about, all jokes aside, he was a second round pick, but there's a lot of issues with Christian Hackenberg. It's definitely with these guys, it's a little less of a question mark. However, I would say, I don't know how you guys feel about it, but at number 3, if Josh Allen's the guy, if that's who they end up going with, I think that would be rough for me if I was a Jet fan to swallow that. I mean, what do you think?
I mean, I honestly disagree. I think you have to make the move just because I think any of the 3 can pan out. Obviously, I think 2 are no-brainers at this point after seeing all of their film and some pro day stuff and however else you wanted to assess those guys. And obviously Allen's a question mark, but I think he's more positive than he is negative. He's shown he can make adjustments that actual coaches other than the Wyoming, people who don't even know what's really going on over there.
They didn't even have a football program.
It amazes me, that guy didn't really improve all that much in college with all of the skills that he had. And it just goes to show, as soon as he got out of school and a couple coaches told him how to adjust certain things, and all of a sudden he made those adjustments and was much more accurate.
Yeah.
You tell me they couldn't figure that out at Wyoming.
Yeah.
So I think the future is very bright for him just because it shows he can adjust to he's very coachable. He can adjust to what he's being told to, basically how he had to fix his feet, wider stance and get more upright, stuff like that.
Mm-hmm.
And I just hope that continues for the rest of his career so that it can actually be positive and not be a Jets pick that doesn't not pan out once again.
Yeah. I mean, if you look at Sam Darnold, he had his pro day in the torrential downpours yesterday. And Josh Allen, I mean, no one talks about him. He's got to throw in altitude. So that's tough. And people forget about that. So I don't know. Hey, you never know. The climate is obviously a factor. But we look at pro days, you see a lot of coaches there. Bill Belichick, Andy, has been at a ton of pro days I've seen lately. The man is a traveling machine. He's been at every pro day, and it's been interesting. I find it interesting also what the Patriots have been doing in free agency, or lack thereof, I should say. What do you think about the Pats and their moves in free agency to kind of set themselves up?
Yeah, so definitely in free agency. It started off rough. Obviously, Malcolm Butler was going to be gone. Amendola, you can't re-sign for that type of bigger money as a 4th wideout. But the big one, obviously, was your Giants getting Nate Solder. Some Pats fans are split, but when he's healthy, he's a stud. He's limited pretty much everyone on his side the second half of the year once he was fully to go. I think he's an awesome left tackle. And it'll be tough to fill the void, but when you have the best O-line coach in football, it's Scarnecchia, I think they'll fix that. And then I did like what they did on defense, especially with Danny Shelton and Adrian Claiborne. We got ran over in the Super Bowl, and we can really generate pass rush. So hopefully Shelton will help in the run game. Claiborne can apply some heat. And Jason McCourty, I'm not sure if he'll decline because of his age, but I think he will be an upgrade over Rowe. So I did like that. But left tackle is going to be a problem. Hopefully they can mitigate it with Waddle, and we'll see what's up. But I did like the moves they made on defense.
Yeah, now do you think a guy like Marcus Cannon is definitely out now? Bringing back Waddle, there's been kind of not that much talk about. No, I'm sorry, not Cannon. Fleming, Cam Fleming. Do you think he's on his way out now that all that's happened and not much chatter about him?
Yeah, good one. Personally, I think he has to be out just because I think he could command like $3 to $4 million a year. I think he's pretty good right tackle, and I know he visited the Cowboys. They want to move Collins inside. I'd be surprised if he signed it. It'd have to be for cheap, especially because we have Cannon on money, Waddle, and you drafted Garcia, and you might draft another guy. I think Fleming's on his way out.
Yeah, I mean, Garcia to me was a pretty decent prospect last year. Definitely much better than McDermott, who they also drafted. We talked about last show as well. Yeah, I agree. You know, I think Solder is obviously a big loss. Amendola, like you said, I think he got a lot of money that I think obviously the Pats weren't expecting, nor were a lot of people. That was definitely an interesting one. I actually like the Jeremy Hill signing. I think Jeremy Hill, believe it or not, could actually do some things for the Pats, especially on the goal line. I think he kind of had a really bad situation in Cincinnati. It was like, they brought in.
I mean, he played in Cincinnati. That's a bad situation.
I'm sorry. What did I say? What did I say? Not what did I say? Did I say Cincinnati? Did I say something else?
No, I'm saying who doesn't have a bad time there?
We were both saying Cincinnati just sucks.
Cincinnati sucks. Yeah, Joe Mixon. They brought him in last year. And then, of course, they had Gio Bernard, and I felt like he never got a fair shake with things over there. So I think, of course, the Patriots, not only do they do a great job of developing offensive linemen, but they do a great job of developing the running back position, as we've seen over the years. So Jeremy Hill, I think, is a really good signing for them. But yeah, moving on to the Giants real quick with free agency. They made the trade for Alec Ogletree as well, which I really, really liked. They needed that leader on defense. Andy, you talked about it. Nate Solder was the guy. Some people thought that him and Norwell were both going to go to the Giants, and they were really going to try to push for both of those guys. Unfortunately, Norwell, didn't go to Jacksonville, but I was okay with that because I think it ended up helping them do more with less, if that makes sense. Solder, I think, like you said, is a stud. He's a guy that I like how they came out too and said Eric Flowers, basically, see you later. It's about damn time that they said that. That's what I like about Gettleman. He's no nonsense and just kind of, you're here, you're going to play. If not, we don't want you. So I think he's obviously a great pickup. Kareem Martin, who's a player coming up, who's getting better every year, really started flashing towards the end of the season and fits obviously that defense. That's a big pattern the Giants have been doing, bringing in guys who are familiar. Jonathan Stewart, familiar with Shula and the system that Shermer is going to run. So goal line back, veteran presence for a guy if they were to draft, let's say, Saquon Barkley. Who knows? But Giants also cut ties with some players. They traded Jason Pierre-Paul, which was awesome today, actually breaking news. And they cut Dwayne Harris finally, so freed up another almost $3 million in cap space. Ken, I'll get to the Jets in 1 second with free agency, but talk about JPP for a quick second. I thought it was a great trade. He never really fit the defensive system that Betcher was going to run there. He really commanded about, I think his cap hit was $19 million to $20 million over the next 2 years. So it's quite a bit of money when you could pay a guy like Odell, especially an aging defensive end who isn't fitting your system, who underproducing. Some people will be like, well, he had 8.5 sacks, a great bounce back year, 3 of which were against Billy Turner from the Denver Broncos last year. So it's nothing to write home about. So yeah, I'm interested to see what they'll do. Picked up a couple of extra picks, a little higher up in the order. So I was happy about that. Ken, what about those Jets? They're pretty active. Missed out on Hackenberg, but they not Hackenberg. My God, what am I saying? Cousins, but they got another Vikings quarterback.
Yeah, I mean, I personally think that that whole 3-quarterback BS going into training camp is just going to be, you have your rookie, you have McCown, you have Bridgewater, and one of them is essentially going to be out. And I think that's Bridgewater is going to be he's going to draw the short straw. Obviously, very cheap contract. So I think it's kind of just doing some due diligence, giving him a shot, see if he can play in camp. You mean McCown's getting up there, so even if they hold on to him, but that's nothing more than just seeing if he can play. There's really nothing, not much guaranteed there. So I'm fine with that. I didn't like it, but I don't mind it because it is so cheap.
Right.
I addressed in past shows that we needed a cornerback, and obviously we went out and did
Got
that.
a pretty damn good one.
I definitely can't complain there. I originally actually thought that we were going to go and get Butler, but I'm actually happier with Tremaine Johnson. I just think he's just obviously an all-around better cornerback.
I think he's a better fit for their defense too.
Yeah, and Butler's I don't know. I feel like he's not someone that can go lock down anybody. We've seen him struggle with some bigger receivers, and I was happy with any cornerback, but I definitely like their signing there. Crowell, it kind of just didn't make sense to me, but I know we needed a running back, but he's not exactly a
elite. He's elite.
Okay, whatever you say, Mr.
Alabama recruit.
Crowell fantasy guy over there in the peanut gallery.
Goal line back, big goal line back. Actually, I'd be interested to see if potentially they try to see if they can move Bilal Powell maybe on draft day for a late round pick.
I wouldn't be surprised.
That would be interesting to me. And they also picked up. Actually, I like the Jets pickup of Avery Williamson.
I love that pick.
Really good pickup. Yeah,
he's gonna be plug and play, 3-down linebacker.
Absolutely,
helping them run D.
Listen, our defense wasn't really obviously our issue to an extent. I like the pieces that we filled. I knew we needed cornerbacks, and I think filling that linebacker role is just another piece. It's
about the QB.
Wanted to just get that out of the way. Didn't want to have to worry too much about defense, and to be able to focus and build the offense that the Jets really need. Building off of whatever quarterback they get at 3, right. So they'll be able to adjust and draft accordingly. So I like all the moves, and at least there's finally a future in sight for the Jets fans that we haven't had in quite some time now. So looking positive.
So beautiful.
One thing that is interesting for the Jets going into the draft now is the tight end position. Is one thing I would definitely look to keep an eye on. Maybe they bring in a veteran too in free agency, like a Mercedes Lewis. I think he would be a good option. But a couple other spots that they need to fill in, maybe on the offensive line. They brought in a center and Spencer Long too. Yep. So a couple good moves by the Jets. Obviously, they have money to spend. Maybe Allen Hurns comes in free agency. I know he's got a visit with them in the upcoming days, so that would be good if they could ink him to a deal. Yeah, for sure.
Our wide receivers are everything but pretty much. They're a shit show right now. We have one guy who doesn't know if he can, stay out of jail. Another guy who we don't know if he's even going to be coming back in Enunwa with injuries, and I've heard a lot of crap around him recently. So
Chad Hansen.
What was that?
Chad Hansen.
What was that? I don't really want to listen.
He was Jared Goff's guy. People forget that. He was Jared Goff's guy at Cal. So.
Great. Yeah, we'll take him and pair him with, Devin Smith and have a field day with our receiver pick. So
no, I get it. They need an X wideout, and then I actually do like the offense.
Yeah, no, I agree. I think it's like I said, it's looking up for the first time in a while, and it would have been nice if they would have just thrown a ton of money at A-Rob, but I mean, all in all, it didn't happen. So we have to move forward. I agree. Getting a tight end. I actually am curious to see how Leggett plays.
Yeah, people forget about him.
I really liked him coming out of college, coming out of Clemson. I thought he was going to. I love the pick, honestly, when they took him, and it was something that I'm hoping that maybe if you take another rookie here and see if just kind of let them play it out, battle it out, and grow with the system, I think wouldn't be the worst thing in the world.
Yeah, and they have the other Clemson kid, Sharon Peak, too, another receiver.
Yep, you can ask Andy. Peak's one of the guys that I've had. Him and Enunwa were like two of my favorite guys for a while.
Andy is dying over there in Massachusetts, just absolutely cracking up.
What's so funny?
Jets just need a real wideout across Robbie Anderson and
I actually think the Allen Robinson signing by Chicago is great. I mean, you need it.
Bears.
You
Great
need
segue.
to. I mean, you really need to. You needed to give Kevin White a number 2 receiver because he's the alpha there. He's the guy.
And Burton, right?
Has he actually ever played a snap in Chicago?
He's
I mean, like, what a disaster pick that was.
But I did want to touch on quick. If we just want to like do a big surprise, like a team that did well and like a move that made you scratch your head, I just think the Bears hit it out of the park. Honestly, from hiring Nagy as their head coach and Mark Helfrich from Oregon as offensive coordinator.
Yeah,
I love that. And then the whole offense is retooled. A-Rob, Burton, Taylor Gabriel for the speed receiver, and they just retooled the whole offense around Trubisky, giving him a shot. You know, that Andy Reid, Doug Peterson type offense. Don't remind me of it. And I love the Bears defense as is. So I think they have a chance to really make a leap. I loved what they did.
Yeah, I agree with that for sure. I think one team that sticks out to me, a couple things. One team that sticks out to me for sure is the Green Bay Packers finally spending some money in free agency. So, you know, they traded Demarius Randall, but they ended up getting Jimmy Graham, Muhammad Wilkerson on a $5 million deal for a season. I mean, that's not too bad. You know, they have to obviously bring in some defensive back depth, but they're honestly not in a bad spot as far as that goes. Another team that hasn't really done much is the Cowboys. Interested to see what they're going to do, especially with Dez moving forward. And the Philadelphia Eagles just keep getting richer. They just signed Mike Wallace to a $2.5 million deal. He's better than Torrey Smith, who they traded for Darryl Worley, who's a pretty good upgraded corner for them. Obviously, Michael Bennett. I mean, they're just getting stronger. And Haloti Nada on a 1-year deal. It feels like Howie Roseman's just spending like he's Richie Rich over there. So
they're having a blast over there. We'll see in a couple of years, you know, the cap, but that team.
Yeah, that'll be a disaster, and you're right with that. Yeah.
And then
building for now.
Fair. Sammy Watkins, $16 million a year. I'm not a fan of the player. I think you could get a receiver for $6 million that does what he does. I didn't like him in the Rams. They always make an excuse he's getting double covered, whether it's the Bills or the Rams. He just doesn't produce, and I want to know your thoughts on that because a lot of people were like, the Chiefs got a new wideout. They spent he's like the second highest paid receiver in football.
Yeah, I agree with that. Like, to me, I think it's a weird overpay. I think he actually will do well just because I think people will almost forget about him. In a way, I think because they have Kelsey and then they have, you know, of course, Tyreek Hill, Kareem Hunt, you know. So I think he's going to be kind of overlooked. And I think that's kind of how he kind of blossomed a little bit in LA because he wasn't always the go-to guy. They had Gurley, you know, they had Robert Woods. They had other options to go to. When he was with Buffalo, I mean, he was the number 2 pick, right? I believe number 2 overall when he came into the league.
Yeah, I believe so.
Right, and he was the guy. They had really no one else to throw the ball to, and he was kind of getting screwed, you know. I think the offense fits him, but I think it was an overpay for sure. No doubt about that. So, yeah, interesting. Ken, what do you think?
No, I agree. We might not know exactly what Sammy Watkins has been able to do until this year. I'm not a huge fan of him, and I actually think that it turned into the Rams actually having a good offseason. I think I really liked what they did. I know they lost. Obviously, the Jets got Jermaine Johnson, but they were able to go out and kind of piece together, obviously getting Peters and all that. They were able to piece together that secondary. Yep. And I think they really built on, instead of taking one big contract, they were able to, or whether it was Watkins or whatever, they were able to really build that team even more. And now if they
get Sue,
yeah, that's kind of like the hammer. If they can sign Sue, I think that just caps off, I think, a really amazing offseason for them and put them in a spot where they can. I mean, they showed what they could do last year, but it can even grow from there.
Yeah, I definitely agree with that. And I mean, it's definitely some teams have been super active, some teams have been not so active, rightly so, or maybe, you know, wrongly they should be more active. it'll definitely be interesting to see what definitely happens. Of course, one team that made a ton of moves that holds the number one pick in the draft was the Cleveland Browns. They brought in Jarvis Landry and Tyrod Taylor. So that's definitely interesting to me. I think Jarvis Landry is actually going to do really, really well there. I think Tyrod Taylor can do very well there. But it'll definitely be interesting to see what certain teams do and how quiet certain teams have been. I think it's kind of weird to me to see teams like, the Cowboys who haven't really signed anybody. Or, I mean, I can't think of like who the Chargers may have signed, anyone like that.
They got Mike Pouncey, but that was pretty late in the process.
Yeah, because after he was released too,
Yeah, that's a good roster.
So yeah, it's interesting to see how different teams are going to retool. So yeah, so jumping into
running backs, baby,
top 5 running backs. So this is probably one of the deepest running back classes, that I can remember. And as every analyst will say this year, has a generational talent at the top of it.
Every year.
Yeah, every year. There's always I was talking about that today actually with somebody, and we were saying like, oh, this guy's a generational talent, but there happens to be a generational talent in every draft. So is that person really generational? I don't get it. But yeah, top 5 running backs. Ken, kick it off.
I started with the quarterback, so I'll let you want to pass it to
Andy,
and we'll kind of rotate
there you go.
so that I'm not starting every time and you're not dragging behind every time.
Yes.
And since the lovely listeners this time don't have to hear my echo, I think we should go one each. So that's a better way to have a discussion, maybe.
Sure.
So, starting at number 5 for me, I have him projected mid-second round is Sonny Michel, Georgia running back. I have him compared to Duke Johnson. And a similar player, I just think he'll enter the league as a satellite back, great receiver, can give you some run on the inside, outside. Doesn't really have the explosion, in my opinion, on tape that Alvin Kamara does. He had some comparisons before the combine there. But I think he's just going to be a great all-around running back, especially in today's passing league. He'll be on the field. He'll be the guy that you can dump the ball off to, run the route tree, but also offer you some running ability, more so than, like, say, a James White. And I think he's a great second-round pick for a team. I'm not sure he can't be a bell cow, but like you said, these satellite backs are really emerging with McCaffrey, Duke Johnson. You go down the list, Kamara. They're very important.
Right. Agreed. All right, I'm up. Number 5. I have his pal at UGA. I have Chubb, not Bradley, but Nick Chubb, guy who his first couple years, even behind Todd Gurley, and then when he became the guy right before he got hurt, people thought he was going to be a top 5 pick in the draft. Obviously, he got hurt. His story coming back is awesome. I like him. He's a powerful back, but he did really tend to fall off because of Michel, and I think that will end up being his role. I don't really see him as a feature back in the league. I see him and I comp him to Ahmad Bradshaw, to be honest with you. Tough, small, low to the ground, like bowling ball type runner. He'll be in the goal line. He could take a couple, he could catch the ball. He can do anything, I think, personally, but I don't think he's going to be a bell cow running back. And I think his fit and his comp to me is Ahmad Bradshaw. So that's my number 5, Nick Chubb, UGA.
I actually have the same number 5 as you have, Nick Chubb at 5. I just feel like there's a reason that obviously Gurley was a stud, but there's a reason that he keeps slowly getting passed over, whether it's injuries or whatever the case may be. He isn't the main guy except for that, whatever that was for that half a year or whatever. Right. So to me, it's tough to really put him higher than 5 just because I can't necessarily trust him to take on that lead back role like you were saying.
Right.
I know he tested extremely well at the combine,
right,
but it's just something to me that, like, you have Michel who, like Andy said, kind of like a satellite guy, but yet he took more snaps or had a bigger role, however you want to look at it. And to me, that's why I can't put him any higher than 5, but I do think he's going to be like a guy that just kind of sustains in the league. And someone that I've actually seen a comp there that I found kind of interesting, but don't necessarily disagree with is Alfred Morris.
Yep.
Who I think it's very, very similar to like your type with Bradshaw, you were saying. So kind of has that similarity to it, but I agree with Nick Chubb at 5.
All right. Wow. There we go. Kenny and I agree. So
But-
bring it back for number 4, Ken. What do you got number 4?
Number 4. All right. So number 4, I'll go with a little teammate of Sam Darnold, going
Ronnie.
Ronald Jones. I think he's going to be
The second. Ronald Jones is second.
Of course. Who else?
Yeah, you can't.
You can't take anyone else. No, just got to be Ronald Jones second.
You don't want to take his dad.
No, definitely not. But anyway, so I think he's someone that he's extremely explosive, and I think he fits in today's NFL just extremely, extremely well. I think he's going to be a player that you saw what Kamara did last year, and it just kind of opened the eyes to a lot of teams who are going to want to take similar players to him, whether it's Michelle or like I said, Ronald Jones here. And that's someone that I think he's just going to be able to explode in the passing game. And I really see him, if he can stay healthy. I know he tweaked his hamstring or whatever that was, or cramps or whatever at the combine, but I think he's going to be someone that he can step in day one. He will absolutely have a big role on any team. So I have him at 4.
Yeah. Well, I ironically also have him at 4. I feel like we may have the same top 5. But Ronald Jones, I like his feet. I like everything that he does, honestly. I like his power. I just like his quickness. Everything about him. He reminds me of Kareem Hunt, to be honest with you.
Okay.
I see he kind of brings a little of everything to the table. He's definitely an all-purpose back. I could see him fitting in a lot of different systems. I like him a lot. I think I think his best football will be ahead of him in the league, and I could definitely see him emerging as a back that is with a veteran at first, and then he ends up taking over that role, kind of like a Derrick Henry in Tennessee, in that sense, or even like an Alvin Kamara and Mark Ingram kind of thing,
right?
Like you talked about. So Ronald Jones also my number 4 running back this year. Andy?
My number 4 running back projected mid-second, just above Sonny Michel, is Rashad Penny out of San Diego State. When I watch him, the system worried me at first because you had that kid last year drafted by the Eagles. Didn't really do anything. Didn't even play. And I know they produced massive yards. But then I watched him, especially versus Stanford, and it was him versus the world, and he gutted them to a win. Great vision. Maybe the best vision in the class. I really love that. He burst the hole. He's not the most powerful runner for a 220-pound back, but I definitely would compare him to Jordan Howard if he didn't have brick hands in the NFL. So a Jordan Howard that can definitely catch the ball, I think would be a very useful running back, potential 3-down player. I'm a big Penny fan. I think that a team in the second round can definitely get a steal in a sense, and he might not be a Pro Bowler, but he'll be that guy every year that's top 8 to 12 at his position, and you'll be happy with him.
Okay. Wow. So we got Rashad Penny. To be honest with you, Rashad Penny for me is tied for 5th with Nick Chubb, but I'll give Chubb the edge just because I feel like he has a little bit more experience. And I feel like San Diego State is just, I don't know, something about them. I know they had Donnell Pumphrey last year, who people were super high on. Same situation, went to the Eagles. I think, like you just touched on too, and he didn't really do much. Not saying it's the same situation, but I just feel like maybe the level of competition and that conference with the defense. I do like him though. I do, and I just think Nick Chubb may see a little bit more of competition and defenses, so that's why I give him the slight edge. But that's definitely interesting. So we're on to number 3.
So for 3, this is where you start getting into the running backs that really separate themselves. These are the guys I view as the bell cows, the star running backs, all with Pro Bowl potential, and that's Darius Geis at 3, which could be a surprise to some. He's usually 2 for most people. I see him as Marshawn Lynch, just your typical power running back with speed and just plays so angry. He runs over people. He always wants an extra 4 or 5 yards. I love that in his ability. His athleticism testing wasn't as quite as explosive I thought it'd be, and I'm not sure he has the breakaway speed that is super impressive, but he's a different back than his teammate Fournette. He definitely has more side-to-side ability, and I think he can catch better. And just as beast mode was an underrated receiver, and I think he's going to get drafted in the first round. I think Detroit could use him big time. I know they got Blunt, but give me a break.
Yeah.
I like Geis a lot, and I think there's some people who absolutely love him and have him above Barkley, which I don't see, but he has a lot of fans. He'll have a good career. I could see him as a Pro Bowl running back.
Yeah, I definitely agree with that. I like Darius Geis. My number 3 running back is Sonny Michel out of UGA. I think his emergence just goes to show you his best football is definitely ahead of him, and he's peaking at the right time. If that makes sense. He's ascending at the right time, especially just the way his game goes. Like you said, he can kind of do it all. He runs a little high, in my opinion, but I actually comp him to Darren McFadden, the way he runs, because of that. He can bring his shoulder down and hit you. He can move laterally. He can catch. He can kind of do it all. But yeah, Darren McFadden for me is his comp. I like Sony Michel, and I could see him. I could see him on a team like you said, like the Lions, something like that. So for me, I think Sony Michel is going to be a really good back in this league. I could see him making a couple Pro Bowls and being a future star. So I got Sony Michel, number 3.
And as we probably expected here, I'm going to follow in your footsteps.
Royce Freeman.
No, I actually obviously have Sony Michel at 3 as well.
You guys love each other.
This wasn't planned. I promise you guys. I generally don't see things very similar to Matt, so it's this is kind of coming as a shock to both of us. But you both kind of hit the nail on the head talking about Sony Michel, so I don't want to
take too much time.
Beat a dead horse. So yeah, Sony Michel at 3, same thing. And I'll move right to 2.
All right,
keep it easy. At 2 is actually where I have Geis. I think this is a guy that he's going to just prove himself over and over again in this league. I think he's going to be a workhorse. Andy mentioned Marshawn Lynch, and that was actually one of the guys that I definitely kind of comped him with. I agree, but he has a similar style. I know, obviously, I think he's going to be much better, but like a Ryan Matthews type, where he's just going to come at you. He's not going to shy away.
That's a good comp.
What was that?
That's a good comp. When he was healthy, he was very good. I like that comp.
Yeah, that's what. So, like, I know obviously he hasn't had a great career, but I think Geis is going to be someone that he can kind of follow in that type of role, and he's going to be the enforcer in most collisions. So I think that's going to be something he's going to prove himself. Literally, I think every game from the moment he's drafted. So I think if there wasn't Saquon Barkley in this draft, Geis would be easily number 1. But there is that other guy.
And I think you hit the nail on the head, Ken, because LSU puts out some pretty good running backs. They kind of always have. They always do pretty well. Their game translates, being in a pro style system for the most part. Darius Geis, he runs angry. But the funniest thing about it is, like you said, he's not the biggest guy in the world. Like he doesn't look like a bowling ball. He doesn't look like a Marshawn Lynch. To me, he reminds me of Dalvin Cook. To be honest with you, the way he runs, especially his body type, and a guy who was there at LSU. He's a faster version, I think, of Jeremy Hill. So I like the way he runs. He runs angry. He doesn't have the breakaway speed or the agility, the quick twitch, muscle fibers, if you will, of Saquon Barkley, but not too many people do. But yeah, Darius Geis, I think, is going to be a stud in the league. To be honest with you, he'll be pretty good. And like I said, I think I could see him having that Dalvin Cook like ability and season if Dalvin Cook didn't get hurt. I think that's what you're looking at for Darius Geis. So numero uno, Andy, who you got? Let me guess.
Number 2.
Oh, number 2 for you. I'm sorry, I thought you.
So yeah, this comes as a surprise. He's been one of my guys for years, and the combine solidified it. I'm fine riding with this guy, Nick Chubb, as my number 2 running back, mid-first round guy. Here's the deal with him. Before the injury in 2015, he was better than Todd Gurley. He was. You could make an argument he was better than Saquon. Then he gets hurt. Next year, only 5 yards a carry. Very underwhelming. You wonder how far his stock falls. He stays for his senior year. And then last year, his athleticism came back, and you could see it. His burst wasn't quite there, but he definitely made a big improvement. Incredible leg strength, battering ram.
Yep.
And then at the combine, he tests in the 98th percentile. And I think his second year removed from the injury, his game will get back to what it was. And I know people are kind of considering him as just a power back, but when he gets to the edge, he actually does haul very fast. And I'm comparing him to Corey Dillon, kind of a throwback, but just a power back that can catch the ball and also just great vision. He's definitely shorter than Corey Dillon, but I see him as a potential multi-Pro Bowl running back, and I'll be rooting for him whatever team he goes to and drafting in fantasy.
except the Jets. If he goes to the Jets,
A great fit for the Jets too, but
yeah, yes.
I'll root for him anywhere.
All right. So anyone a big number one guy want to go first? Because I'm pretty sure we all have the same guy, just like everyone else.
Number one, Kerryon Johnson out of Auburn. Just
Good call. Yep.
Great vision. I love his stutter step. Reminds me of Bell. Okay, Saquon Barkley. Saquon Barkley. What's there to say? He's the greatest athlete at the position ever. That's not a subjective statement. All the combine testing. He had like 60 receptions with a quarterback who throws like a clown. I'm not a fan of
Trace McSorley.
Trace McSorley. I'm sorry, Ken. I don't know if you like him, but
next episode we're going to be doing top 5 quarterbacks for next year, and I bet you Trace McSorley is not on the list.
I'm actually not quite as sold on Saquon as a runner, but I just think he's such a freaking stud athlete and a great receiver. I think he's going to be David Johnson with upside for more. He's just the way the NFL is going with the receiving game. He's going to be a cheat code, and whether he becomes an elite runner between the tackles, I won't think it will matter. He's the number one running back.
I definitely, obviously agree, and I sit there and I watch Saquon Barkley highlights at night as a Giants fan at number 2 because I'm like,
exciting. Jeez.
Yeah, it's exciting,
especially when they don't take
him. Right, and that will happen, and you guys know my reaction with that. It'll definitely be the case. So I just keep thinking about what would be save your aging quarterback. My God, but no, Saquon Barkley. I don't even have a comp for the guy, to be completely honest with you, because I just don't see it. I mean, his lower half of his body is stronger than anyone I've seen. If you ever see the run that the catch and run that he had against, I think, Indiana, where he one-hands it on a screen, he stops and starts on a penny, and he takes off and goes like 0 to 60.
Slightly bigger than a dime.
I think, yeah, just a little. It's not on a dime. He's on a penny. No, he's incredible, man. He really is. And like you said, Andy, I don't know what he will do as a runner, but his receiving ability, I think he's going to be one of the most durable running backs to come out in a long time. He does sacrifice his body quite a bit. That's one criticism I do have of the guy, but I think because of his durability and his strength, hopefully that can hold up in the NFL. But you never know. That could be the one negative about Saquon for sure, if you want to point one out. But you're right. I mean, there's no doubt about it. He's the best athlete at the position that personally I've ever seen. So
yeah, the same with me.
I mean, it's not even close. So I couldn't, like I said, I couldn't think of a comp because I think Saquon Barkley is Saquon Barkley, and he's interesting. So Ken,
yeah, there's really not much more to say. The guy is. You say a generational talent. You guys made fun of it earlier, but he actually might be the generational talent just because of his sheer athleticism and just his ability with what we don't even like. I'm sure he's going to do things that we haven't seen him even do yet when he gets to the NFL, and he's going to amaze us over and over again. It's a high comp, but for someone that everyone says is a generational talent, I've actually seen, especially because of the passing game, is Marshall Faulk.
Wow, I like it.
Yeah,
I mean, if that's his upside, I like that.
That's what I'm saying. That's his upside. And if everyone's saying
his upside's a Hall of Fame player,
so if he's as great as everybody says, which it seems that he might be, I mean, he kind of fits that role. So that's where I'm kind of sitting.
I have a hot take.
Hot takes allowed. Only cold takes.
So this is a really cold take at Hot Takes Exposed or Cold Takes Exposed. I think Saquon Barkley, if his career pans out to obviously be a good career, he ends up, Pro Bowls, All Pro, whatever. I think he will be a top 5 all-time running back.
Okay,
I really do.
If he goes anywhere but the Giants,
that's probably what will happen. If he goes to the Giants, he'll be the biggest bust since Trent Richardson. So at the position, but no, I think he's a can't miss guy. What's your guys' take? A lot of people have one criticism of him, just to jump into the next thing too, with pro days. Couple pro days happened. He did not participate in the pro day. What do you guys think about that?
He doesn't have to. I don't care.
I liked how he ran routes for teams that asked like that. That's like what's more important. Like I don't see what his combine testing is the best all time, so he doesn't have to do drills and simulating running. I don't know. Like
he has nothing to prove in that aspect.
No, I agree.
everything is out on him. You're not going to learn anything from a simulated running drill in a pro day that you haven't seen already, or you can't just kind of take from whatever it is. I mean, the guy tested off the charts. So
one question I do want to segue to Barkley. This is for both of you.
Yeah, sure.
I agree he's awesome, but I put a lot of emphasis on the receiving game. I would say, would you guys take Barkley or Fournette, Gurley, and Elliott as a better runner between the tackles? I think he's actually the worst runner, but he's just such a better receiver than those three. That's how I see it.
You know what? That's funny because I was going to bring that point up. It lost in my mind. I was just going to say, I think he is definitely the best receiving back compared to like Leonard Fournette coming out. You're like, all right, maybe that's his weakness. You know, you didn't really see Ezekiel Elliott really catch the ball ever at Ohio State. You know, Todd Gurley maybe a little bit, but
not like
those guys you always focus on their running ability. And yes, you focus on Saquon's running ability, but his receiving is almost like reminds me of like a Shane Vereen, the way he's so smooth with it, and it's unique.
The only thing that I would say with regards to his running ability is in college he could literally, like, even if his running ability, like his vision was garbage, and
which is not, we're not saying, but yeah.
No, I know, but I'm saying even if it was,
yeah,
his athleticism, he was that much better than everyone. Where even if he made a mistake, it didn't matter. So I'm wondering if that kind of catches up to him in the NFL, and maybe he finally has to learn. Maybe he didn't care to learn how to like read a play. I mean, I know it's more natural,
more athletic, just relying on his athletic ability.
But maybe he'll have to bear down and actually, you know, like learn and study and trying to figure out how he's going to approach it because he can't get away with what he got away with in college in the NFL. So I'm curious to see how that plays out.
Yeah, I could see that.
I agree with that. Yeah.
Yep. So we had Sam Darnold's pro day in the pouring rain. Did pretty well, I thought. I watched it. I thought he did pretty well, made all the throws. Of course, scripted, which he knew about. But there's talk, obviously, that Cleveland will probably take him at 1. Jimmy Haslam, their owner, took his parents out to dinner. And, you know, do you think it's smoke? Do you think it's legit? How do you think he did on his pro day? What are your thoughts?
Pro day-wise, I was definitely impressed accuracy-wise. His wind-up will be what it is. I'm not a fan, but
yeah,
like Philip Rivers.
Thank you. Yeah,
so. Exactly. It won't limit him because the rest of his game's good. And I think it isn't smoke. It's fire. They have the number 1 pick. They don't have to hide anything. And I just think Sam Darnold fits what the Browns kind of need: a stable, level head, quiet, like leader personified. And I like what they've built offensively. You mentioned Landry. I think when Sam had Juju Smith, he was awesome, and I think that's a great fit with Donald. And I think that is the pick. I just can't see them liking Josh Rosen in an interview. I'm Rosen's biggest fan. I think all the crap about him being a leader is garbage. But I could see him coming off as kind of arrogant, cocky in an interview. And the Browns, I feel like that new John Dorsey guy's serious, and Donald can stabilize the franchise. I think that's what's happening.
I agree with that. Yep.
Yeah, I mean, he impressed me at his pro day. I mean, he literally waited to throw in the pouring rain to prove that he could do it. And I mean, he went out and he proved it. It takes that like half cocky, half super confident type role, even though he is kind of quiet.
Yeah. But
he does have that mentality that you need to be a stud quarterback in the NFL. And I think that really being able to show, like, I'm going to wait in Southern California, wait for it to pour.
Yeah.
So I can throw in it. Like, that says a lot coming from where he was playing. So.
It does. And like you said, looking at the past quarterbacks, so they may have drafted, whether it be a Brandon Weeden or a Johnny Manziel or, you know, whoever it may be, you know, those guys aren't really level-headed. They never really were that highly touted of a pure NFL pocket passing quarterback who is, like you said, is level-headed, quiet. He's not a rah-rah guy. He's just there to get the job done. Honestly, very similar to Joe Thomas, who was there at the left tackle spot for all those years, who just retired in Cleveland. So, like you said, John Dorsey, I think, is going to be a no-nonsense guy. He's going to want a young kid, sit behind Tyrod Taylor, a vet, for a year, get the coaching in, play with those other guys, and that's about that. So,
and he's not going to be an in-your-face leader like some people might see. Like for obviously we all know how Brady is, and like He's not gonna. He's gonna
Oh yeah, I
scream
get
at
it.
you if he needs to scream at you in front of the camera on Sunday Night Football in front of everybody, but or not. It all depends.
He's
but
not going to be Cam Newton.
He's not going to be that guy. He's not
Right.
going to be showing up at anybody. He's not going to. He's going to. I've heard he's like one of the best, like at his age, pure leaders of like one-on-one leadership and talking with a receiver and saying what they want with their approach or kind of helping him step through what maybe what he needs to work on or something like that. That's where I've heard he really excels and he proves to be much more mature than his age.
Yeah, and so I think Sam Darnold kind of fell off for a little bit, I think, and now his team is picking up again, like it did in the offseason last year. So real quick, after the Jets made the trade to 3, what do you guys think the top 5 is in the draft as of right now?
Number 1 pick, Sam Darnold. We've been over it. Number 2, no, you'll be able to talk about this the most because it's so fascinating. But they have so many options, the Giants. I think I would trade down to 6 if they can.
The Bills are going to throw him the franchise, I think.
They're going to throw the kitchen sink. But at 12, you're not going to get the blue chip. So I think I would stay and draft Saquon. I think I would. But the thing is, well, no, for them, Saquon. For me, I would go Rosen, but I don't think that's the direction they're going.
Yeah.
I think they're going to give Eli the team. Then at 3, the Jets. I have Josh Rosen there. I think natural fit. I'm scared as a Patriots fan if they get Rosen. I think that'd be the best quarterback in the AFC East besides Brady and Garoppolo and Matt Castle and Jacoby. Okay, no, sorry. But very good quarterback. And then
Brian Hoyer, forgot him.
Brian Hoyer.
Kyle Oletta.
But pick 4, the Browns. I think they stay put and they pick either Chubb or Nelson. Get the blue chipper. That's what Browns just keep adding talent. If you have Garrett and Chubb, that's a hell of a duo. If you get Nelson, just add talent, even if you don't need a guy.
No, but now you're assuming that the Giants take Barkley there and that they don't trade
Correct.
down and that Barkley's not available. I'm assuming.
Yeah. And then 5, actually the Broncos, if all the quarterbacks are kind of gone and they're not in the Mayfield, I think Elway's obsessed with cornerbacks. I think he would actually try to take Denzel Ward, play him on the outside or slot, have him and Harris mix over there with Bradley Roby. I think that'd be a surprise draft pick. I can't really get a read on the Broncos if they're not going QB.
I agree. I think you made a good point, and John Elway has drafted Ohio State corners before, he did with Bradley Roby. So, Ken, what do you got?
Very similar. I'm gonna anticipate the Bills trading up to that 2 spot.
Ooh, baby.
Yep. Yeah, I just see it happening. I think the Giants would honestly obviously it's tough. It's Barkley or everything that the Bills have.
And I agree with you, and here's why real quick. I think it's everything the Bills have this year and next year's one, and I'll tell you why. And I think
might get another pick, I'm telling you.
I think
that's what I'm saying.
I think it is.
It's going to be ridiculous.
It's going to be all their picks. It's going to be 12, 22. They're 2 seconds. They're 3rd.
2019 1.
Yes.
And 2019 3 or 4.
That's got to, and the thing is,
how do you not take that if you're Dave Gettleman trying to
thing.
build your own team and you're trying to make your mark as
that's
the GM?
my point. And that's why
it's a perfect fit for. I think it personally, going off that real quick, I think it'd be Josh Allen. I think Josh Allen needs the most work. He needs the most time.
Oh, I agree.
McCarron for 2 years,
and they've already expressed their love for Allen.
So there you go.
So
he has the arm for the cold outdoors of Buffalo. I think that would be it. Personally,
and that's where I have it going. Is I have Darnold at 1, Allen to the Bills at 2, Rosen to the Jets at 3, which is what I'm hoping for, but also what I kind of see happening.
Yeah.
And then obviously I'm going to jump to Barkley at 4 if he's. I'm assuming he's still there.
Wow, they'd be having a fiesta for the Browns. Wow.
That right? Imagine. But then this is where it gets tricky. Is like you were saying, like, do they go Mayfield even though they took got Keenum, who's like a lot of times like you see that comp is like baked to Keenum. Do you really want 2 of the same? My question for you guys is do you think there's a chance that, like, if he sits there and he says, I wanted a quarterback, but there's nothing here that I like, do you think there's a chance he trades down because that's going to be valuable to a couple teams?
The Dolphins.
The Dolphins were exactly who I was thinking of, and I was curious if you think he would trade down or he's too much of like an ego guy where he's like, I'm getting my guy at 5, I don't care.
I think he'd want the blue chip player, but Elway doesn't strike me as the trade down GM. He's like the opposite.
That's why it's tough for me.
But I think in my official mock, I think I would have him trade down to the Broncos if Mayfield's there. I think.
With the
The
Dolphins,
Dolphins.
you're
The
saying.
Dolphins.
Oh yeah. My bad. Yes.
Yeah, yeah.
It's okay. Yeah.
Just making sure.
I
Yeah,
agree.
I
And
agree.
I think one guy, and I'll work from the back up. I
That
think if they didn't trade back with like the Dolphins, I think if they did that, Kenny, I think that they take Bradley Chubb at 5. I think John Elway loves the pass rushers. Shane Ray, Miller and Chubb, exactly. That'd be scary. Get that defense back intact. I think corner is deep enough for them in this draft that they could go and get that somewhere else. I think he may be the guy if they don't trade down. Going off of that, I'll pop back up to 1 just to rework it. Then you got Darnold, I think, is the no-brainer, number 1. Let's just assume the Giants keep their pick at 2. I'm going to say it will be Saquon Barkley at that point. Number 3 would be the Jets. I think they take Rosen, no doubt about it. Number 4, the Browns, again, I think they take Josh Allen just to make sure they don't – no, I'm just kidding. I think at 4, I think they would – now, I obviously went backwards, so I'm assuming they would pass on Bradley Chubb, although I don't think that they would. But I think there maybe they would go Minkah Fitzpatrick.
I could see that.
Only because I think he fits what they're trying to do. You could play Peppers a little bit more down in the box. And I think Minkah Fitzpatrick is also a very, very good football player who is honestly worthy of that top 5 pick. And I think people are overthinking it a little bit. And then, like I said, Bradley Chubb at 5 to Denver. But I could also see both those guys flip-flopping, 4 and 5. I could see Chubb going to the Browns, Fitzpatrick going to the Broncos. Also, steep dark horse for the Broncos, Derwin James.
Definitely.
So, yeah, I could see a couple different things happening. So, interesting. So, that is that. Anybody have any final thoughts?
Yeah, just going back to running back.
Yeah.
If anyone has a few sleepers, because it's a super deep class, just quick. Obviously in the Super Bowl, Corey Clement almost could have been MVP, destroyed us.
Mm-hmm.
That is Super Bowl before that, James White, 3 touchdowns. That role is so important. And then Akron Wildly out of Iowa, I think can be that guy. Justin Jackson, Northwestern. Naeem Hines out of
his mic again.
Oh no.
No, you're good.
No, you're good.
Just technical difficulties, don't you worry. You know, the Wadley's my guy. They don't want the world to know. But yeah, so those 3 backs, you can get them in rounds 3 to 5, and I think they all could be similar to Dion Lewis, Shane Vereen type guys, just shifty, get them in the pass-only situations, can make plays happen. I'm a big fan of those 3.
So you had Wadley, and then who were the 2 before that?
You missed those. That's when the mic cut out.
My Justin Jackson, Northwestern, a great agility and receiver, and then Naeem Hines, if that's how you pronounce it.
Yeah, from NC State.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, all that similar type of satellite scat back.
Yeah, I mean, Jackson's been my guy that I've kind of had like a crush on for.
You introduced me to him. You get the credit. I'll be right.
So that was the guy that the first time I actually like really saw him. I saw him play at the what bowl is that? The bowl at Yankee Stadium.
Oh, the
Pinstripe Bowl.
Cool.
I saw him play against Pitt, and that was something that like I knew of him, didn't know of his game, and all of a sudden I'm watching this. I'm like, this kid is unbelievable. Like this kid is beyond. Like he was shifty. Like he made people miss. Like my eyes literally just went wide open as soon as he just started like going. He would get an open field, and you just knew there was no chance.
Yeah,
and I think he's someone that a lot of people have him really low, and he is limited because he's not a run. He's not going to be a runner in this league. He's going to be, but he fits into the receiving role that the NFL is kind of molding into now. So I think he's going to have a role, and I think we're going to be surprised somewhere in those first couple of weeks. I think he's actually going to step in, depending on what team he goes to. But a team that needs that type of player, I think he'll step in day one and can actually make a difference.
2 guys. I have local kid from New York, Fordham running back, Chase Edmonds.
Dude, love him.
Yeah, I like him a lot. Quick, shifty, fast, quick twitch guy. Like him a lot out of Fordham. Of course, lower level D1 AA, but we've seen that pan out time and time again. And then I think he'll get a legit shot too. I think another guy I like is I watch a lot of Notre Dame football, but Josh Adams. There's a reason. I mean, he was in the Heisman conversation
Could it be because of the offensive line?
And a lot of people will say that.
That's
you know,
what I'm asking. That's why I'm asking,
yeah,
because you watched a lot of it.
and I think that's obviously a factor, but that's a factor. You could make that argument about Ezekiel Elliott too. You know, is Ezekiel Elliott good because of his offensive line? You know, same thing with Le'Veon Bell. I mean, yeah, they're great running backs. I'm not saying that Josh Adams will be a great running back. I think he will be a dark horse sleeper because I think a lot of people will forget about him. But I do think he is a good running back. He's powerful. He's a big dude. He's long. He is a little high when he runs, but I like him a lot. He's a powerful guy. And I could see him succeeding in the league. I think a lot of people forget about him. So that's it.
So yeah, next week we'll definitely maybe go defensive side of the ball with the cornerbacks. Another awesome position to talk about.
Yep.
A grand old time. And this episode definitely went smoother than last time. You know, Mike tried to ruin it, but he stayed tough. I respect Mr. Mike, and awesome.
All right. That is it for episode number 3 of season 2, our free agency review and our running back review.
Peace
See
out.
you guys next show.